What is up, Fanatics? It is 8 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means another episode of Home Theater Fanatics Live. Tonight is episode 145, and we've got a banger for you. So I've got three dudes from a speaker company that you might know called Triad. They make all kinds of crazy, awesome custom speakers. And I've got Dean, David, and Dave. I mean, and that's a mouthful joining us tonight. Now, before we get started, just make sure you like and subscribe, because next week we've got a huge show coming where you can win your share of $10,000 worth of, I was going to say cash and prizes, but it's just prizes. There's no cash. Don't look for cash. But make sure you sign up. There'll be a link down below. Go to the gleam.io site. Make sure you've signed up there. We are into the hundreds and hundreds of people now that have signed up to win with 6,000 or something entry events. But we'll talk about that more later. But now the important stuff are our guests, and I'm going to reveal them. Welcome, guys.
Hey, Giles. How's it going?
Dave's like, God, I can't believe this dude. It's awesome. Welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have Triad here with us tonight. You guys are an iconic brand, and I mean, anybody who knows anything about anything custom speaker wise knows who you guys are. So it's an honor to have you on the show. So welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Glad to be here.
Right. Yeah. Now, for the people that might not know you guys, so I think maybe we should take just a couple of minutes and introduce not only yourselves, but also the brand to everyone, so they can kind of get a level set for who you guys are and then what the brand is about, what you do. So we'll just start at the top, the random positioning of the blocks. And so David, you are up first, sir.
Yeah, my name is David Bailey, and I run the Triad home theater design service here at Snap One. So I work with our partners on projects all over the world, help them spec out media rooms and home theaters of all shapes and sizes. I started in the industry in the early 90s working at hi-fi shops, and eventually moved into the custom installation industry before joining Triad back in 1997. So I've been around the brand and helping dealers spec jobs, going on nearly 25 years now.
Awesome. Cool. Well, welcome. Dean, you're next.
Yeah, my name is Dean Mingy. I'm the engineering manager for the product development team, development team here in Portland. For the past, I've worked for Triad for 10 years or so, and these days just guiding and heading up the team that designs and builds designs and develops the manufacturing for all the speakers that come out of the factory here in Portland.
Awesome. And then last, maybe least, I'm not sure. Dave, tell us. Last but not least, who are you and what do you do?
Definitely least, Giles. Definitely least. Hey everybody, my name's Dave Phillips. I am the product marketing director at Snap One. My background goes way back to the 90s, where I worked in some hi-fi stores and shops back in the UK. We did a lot of fun stuff, a lot of listening, a lot of demos, a lot of testing. We listened to the differences between speaker cables and spent way too much time rummaging around behind high-end audio equipment, which was so much fun. Following that, I moved into the install side of the business. So I ended up doing a lot of the programming for lighting control and control systems, as well as the design and install of home theaters. I also, by pure coincidence, worked for the distributor of Triad speakers in the UK for 5 years in the 2000s. So I got a lot of history, like David and Dean here, go back a long way with Triad. And then in 2010, I started with Control 4, and the rest is history. 11 years later, here we are.
Well, that's awesome.
You guys always make me feel like such a neophyte with my mere decade of experience.
They probably got together beforehand and they're all like, let's make Dean feel
that's right.
inadequate on their
Let's get
show.
the new kid out there.
So, okay, couple of more questions. So, ostensibly the show today is about Triad, but there's a lot of stuff going on in the background too. And I think the whole Snap One thing is kind of cool too, right? Because Snap One is like massive, it's huge. So maybe a couple of minutes about what Triad does, and then a little bit about Snap One and how those things kind of all come together.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, I think let's start with Snap One, because I think the rest of it's going to be all Triad, and I think that would just feel sensible to me. So Snap One is a company that's been around for around the same time as Control 4 actually, and a few years ago, Control 4 and Snap One merged together. And it's really the merging of, and there's a little off topic from audio, but really the merging of two companies with two really incredible platforms that help our partners and their customers, therefore, to have incredible automation experiences. So with Control 4 and our Oversee remote monitoring and management platform, we help to make our partners' lives easier and our customers' lives more enjoyable through incredible technology in the home. So Triad.
So moving on to Triad. So that's Snap One. It's the big umbrella, but then Triad is I don't want to call it a subsidiary, but it's one of the brands of the Snap One ecosystem.
Yeah,
and, you guys make all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, the premium audio brand under the Snap One umbrella is sort of the way the Triad brand has been positioned, and certainly the reputation that we've built over the last several decades for high-end home theater, high-end audio speakers, and custom installation, and supporting the custom integrator market. Everything from how we manufacture the product, how it's distributed, and how that dovetails into what Snap One does as far as partner support, things like that. So I think it's a really good fit.
Right. Now to talk about that for a second. So Triad basically is, it kind of, I guess, swims in the channel, meaning that you guys don't do direct sales, but you work through partners exclusively, correct?
Correct.
So the way that people would access Triad equipment would be that, they're working with some local company and they say, man, I'd really like to build this theater, or I've got this room and I need this thing or whatever. And they would say, hey, man, you should look at these Triad things. And is that how people come together to work with your brand to implement whatever the solution is? Is that the normal course of action?
Indeed, yeah. I think a lot of our partners, of course, have showrooms. So when a client maybe walks in to talk about their home and what they want to install, they might get an opportunity to actually hear Triad and get excited about not only the performance of the product, but get some ideas about how it might fit into their environment. What I do is through design services is actually working with our partners. So our partners can reach out to me, say, here, I have this client's project, here's the room, this is what they're trying to do, here's their budget, and then we'll sit down and kind of figure out which of the Triad products make the most sense to meet those requirements for the room.
Right on. And then from a product portfolio point of view, what all does Triad do? Is it like every kind of speaker imaginable, or mostly CI stuff, or what does that look like?
I mean, imagine it's mostly CI stuff, right? So mostly in walls, in ceilings. That would be 70 or 80% of the business, specifically either for home theater, but also a huge chunk of distributed audio, multi-room audio. And then the remaining is a lot of media room, i.e. sound bars, and in-room products. As well as, and mixed into all of that is a handful of very premium stuff, some super high-end home theater, and as well as some application-specific stuff, where just like niche products that we can offer to make our partners' lives easier.
Yeah. Much of the product line has evolved over the years from our partners coming to us and saying, I need a speaker that, fits this space constraint, or I need a speaker that you guys don't make. And as those product ideas get built out through our custom department for that one job, sometimes the light bulb turns on for us and we're like, that should be a product. And, sometimes it'll span a whole family of new models in the line. That's sort of how the brand has evolved over the last several decades.
Right on.
Yeah, and building on, when Larry Paxton started Triad in '82, he really wanted to focus on sort of Toyota model of manufacturing and built to order mixed model manufacturing.
Oh, the Toyota model is awesome.
Yeah, it's obviously lean, and one of the advantages of that is because we sort of have a palette of materials. Because the basis of that is a palette of materials that you mix and match and make different products out of, allows us to build one-offs as needed for very specific applications for partners, in corners or flex subs or whatever, where it's not sitting on the shelf. It's just busy waiting as raw material for us to build it when somebody orders it. So
that means
a pretty wide array of applications that way.
So that means you guys are going to turn 30 next year.
Almost 40. Well, 82.
82, 92, 02, 12. Yeah, 40. Man, 40. That's a big number. You guys have been around a long. That's a lot of tenure. That's cool.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I think one of the other things that comes from that Toyota production model is that it encourages a partner to not hoard a bunch of inventory, not buy 10 of something, stick it in a warehouse, and maybe it kind of works for the next client, but maybe it's not exactly. In other words, they can and they should be thinking about what's the best solution for this particular client's budget, room, their goals, what they want it to look like, and then they just order what they need when they need it.
Right
as opposed to
So this is definitely not the McDonald's kind of mentality of let's make 3 things and mass produce the heck out of them.
Right.
So it sounds to me like it would not be an uncommon situation to have, somewhere, some CI dealer company helping someone set up a new theater or whatever, and they just have a crazy use case, and they come to you and you say, hey, we need to do these in-wall subwoofers, but there's all this crap back there. So it's, so that is your bread and butter, that kind of thing where you're like, well, let's figure this thing out, right?
Absolutely.
Right on.
So what might help, Giles, to kind of frame the crazy product selection of Triad is to really talk about why we do what we do, and there's a couple of things we believe in. The first is that we think everyone should have great audio, and it shouldn't have a negative impact on the aesthetics of the room. So we're talking discrete, great quality, fantastic quality audio. The second thing is that installation challenges are inevitable. They're going to happen, and you need solutions to overcome those challenges. And the third thing we believe is that we know one size doesn't fit all. Mm-hmm. We have to have flexibility and variability, whether it's and you'll learn more about this, as we go through. We've got a video to show you. You'll see some of the fun things we do to make sure that that we can satisfy practically any installation. We can overcome practically any challenge.
Right on. And now your factory is in Portland?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, so this is all American made, all hand built here in the USA. That's kind of cool. I do want to jump into that manufacturing process a little bit, and you had a video you wanted me to queue up that we could talk through so people could kind of get a better feel for that, right? So let me see if I can queue this up. And while I'm doing that, could you, Dave, give a little introduction into what we're going to see here?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm going to let Dean walk us
Okay.
through the video directly, but this is a like a 2.5 minute short video that we made that basically walks you through the life of a speaker, through the process, through the different stages of the process of manufacturing, and Dean is absolutely our expert on this one.
All right, let me see if I can get this going. Does that make it big for everybody? It does. Awesome.
Yeah. So our
All
plant is basically a line from the east end to the west end. And initially, where we'll start is on the east side, where all of the MDF just comes in the building as flat stock, gets transferred onto a panel saw. We cut out blanks. We have a handful of different flat goods that we use, MDF predominantly. The blanks get laid out on a CNC router, and giant and sort of puzzle box flat patterns are cut out of them. Then they are trimmed out, hardware is added, inserts and the like, and then loosely put together and pushed through the wall to the next department. On the other side of the wall there are the folks that glue these boxes together. So they just assemble them, run glue in all the joints, put the boxes together, dry them, bondo them, paint them, finish them, and push them on to the next department. Each operator is working on a different product every time they put another piece together. So they might put 2 or 3 of a bronze together and then go into silvers, then go into surrounds and do something else. So the plant is set up to handle this constantly changing workflow. Yeah, so they're sprayed through the drying tunnels. Usually they go out of this drying tunnel and into final assembly. So I'm gonna take a little side trip off to the side to show our veneer department. We can custom match any veneer. People like to send us cabinet doors for whatever they're working on to match the stain and finish. And then there's another stream where the grills are built, especially for in-wall in ceiling. All of these are bent from steel perf. End caps are added depending on the product. It's painted and then paired with the product at the end after final assembly. These shots are where we build the electronics and assemble the final product. Each one is tested individually, and then it goes off that table and into shipping, where the grill and the speaker box and any other hardware components are collected together, stuffed into a shipping container, and sent out to the dealer. But with the one-piece flow, it provides us opportunities to do custom color, for instance, which is usually sort of the baseline amount of customization that we can do, where instead of just getting painted black, it takes a little side trip. Somebody paints it whatever color you specified, either just the grill or the whole box, depending on the product application. But then it also gives an opportunity to do other modifications, because we don't have to build. We can build one at a time, and we've made it like easy to do that.
Right on. Yeah. So Aaron says that he just received his silver LCRs from Portland today. So he's
Nice.
he's loving life.
Congratulations.
Absolutely.
Silver's a great product. It's a really good product.
That is a workhorse speaker in our line.
Yeah, for sure.
So that video really hits close to home for me, because I like to tinker, I guess, in my garage. And so all of those things that you have done there, I've tried to figure out how to do in my little 2-car garage. And let me tell you what, it's hard to have, a cut room, a paint room, a drying room, a glue up location, a special area for veneer. Yeah, I'm a little bit jealous, because
you need an RV garage just for one of those CNC machines. They're massive.
Yeah, I mean, they're 20 feet long and 13 feet wide. They're monsters.
Are they the vacuum hold models where you just put the piece down and then how do those align? So is it like, do you have to push it like in a printer with paper where you shove the piece of wood against the edge, or does it have like a laser guided thing so it knows?
Certainly, I have seen products that do that. But ours, you lay out a spoil board or just a board that you can destroy on the table, and then you just kind of generally line it up. We line it up with the edge of the table, but as long as it's within the cut area of the spoil board of the fixture, it gets it all cut out. Because once it's done cutting, everything's precise within the sort of area of the board that we put on the table.
That makes sense. So as long as the board covers the target cut area,
Yes.
it doesn't really matter if it's skewed a little bit or whatever, because that's just that's refuse or trash or extra or what. I'm sure you have a cool term for it.
Drops. Yeah.
Drops. There you go. Man, you got the lingo down. Yeah, that's a lot of drops this week. What can we do with those drops? Well, can we turn them into other things? No, that's cool.
It's always really surprising,
but not many.
Yeah, Dean touched on the custom color, and I just kind of want to highlight it because it's always surprising when we're training a new partner for them to realize that not only do we not charge for that custom painting, if we're going to paint the grill white, we might as well paint it blue, pink, whatever they want. But it also doesn't affect the lead time, so it really kind of changes the conversation they can have with their clients about
Nice.
Decorating the home with these speakers and figuring all of that out before they place their order, and then we can just do our thing and build them and ship them quickly.
So that is a good question though. So since all this stuff is so custom and you're not pulling pre-produced equipment off the shelf that's kind of ready to go, what kind of lead time is there for this? Because it seems like this would be long, but that's not really the case though.
No, generally it's 6 to 10 days. That it sort of fluctuates in there depending on demand. But the actual time, a lot of that is trying to get the full throughput through the plant, rather than the amount of time it takes your speaker to go through the plant is only like 3 days, 4 days on the outside. It does not take long. It spends a lot of time just waiting to get it for the one in front of it to get out of the way.
Right on. Yeah, that's really one of the key pieces of production line philosophy, right? Is how do you not have things get stuck at one production station and take all of your production down? So and Dean, that sounds like that kind of falls into your wheelhouse of things that you deal with from time to time, which is really cool.
Yeah, honestly, it's one of my favorite parts about the job is you meet a lot of engineers who do design work. They work on the computer most of the day, but our team gets to work on the computer, design something, and then go out on the plant, cut and build it ourselves, and then teach other people how to cut and build it. So there's a lot of intimacy there with the plant floor.
Yeah, I read a book not too long ago, and this is horrible for me to bring it up because I can't remember the name of the book, but it compared some IT services to factory production line philosophy, and how you take that same philosophy and you can apply it to all these different processes. I wish I could remember the name, but it was really cool. And back when I was in school, we studied about this a lot, but I've never really had an opportunity to work in that kind of production facility, overseeing that kind of stuff. So it's kind of cool to solve those problems, because I like that kind of let's figure these things out problem too. It's kind of cool. It's really,
for sure.
It's really cool.
Fun.
All right, so let's take a moment before we move on to our next topic, and I want to say hi to some of the folks around the crowd with us. So, it looks like the crew has joined us today. Hi-Fi Haven, thanks for jumping in the show today. Joey Peacock, Mr. Indie Audio Labs from Accurus Aragon, he makes all that stuff that powers all those speakers that you guys have. I imagine there's some Act 4 and Muse processors with some Triad stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
recommend them often.
Right on. Double A is here with us. My Mail is here with us. So these are the guys that always show up at the very beginning of the show, and they're awesome. Joey says, I'm excited about the folks from Triad. I think they were the very first speaker company to have THX certification. Really? So
we had some of the first THX certified in-wall speakers for sure.
That's kind of an auspicious kind of honor to have.
We also on that note, we also helped Dolby develop their Atmos enabled spec.
Really? Man, that's pretty cool. Easy Home Theater Tech is here with us. We've already said hi to Aaron. Bobby Digital is with us, and he's he's looking to go gold LCR and silvers for surrounds. So,
Interesting.
so what are the different levels there? So we've talked about gold and silver. I would assume that there's a bronze and maybe a platinum,
Oh, sure.
and if you want to make something really expensive, it would be unobtainium or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Cinema reference.
Cinema Reference would be our current flagship product. So we start with if we talk about, I mentioned earlier, the silver LCR as being kind of one of the bread and butter speakers. That the silver and the bronze LCR, and then the smallest being the mini. Those three products get used with high quality AV receivers and then into separates. And those three products offer pretty comparable levels of resolution and detail. So we would spec those primarily based upon room size, how loud the client wants to play it, things like that. And then we have some gaps where there are bigger jumps, where you're getting not just more output, but also better resolution and higher performance. And the jump between a silver LCR and a gold LCR is one of those spots. You're talking about, roughly an $1,100 a piece speaker for the silver to roughly a $3,000 a piece speaker in the gold. And that gold LCR really wants power and deserves, separate amplifiers and things to get the best from it. But it's also going to fill a much bigger room. And then there's an even bigger jump to go to the Platinum LCR, which was Triad's flagship speaker for many years. And when you look at a Platinum LCR, and I don't know if we have a photo handy here, but we're talking about a 150-pound speaker with dual 10-inch woofers, all ScanSpeak driver, ScanSpeak drivers, and our really high-end tweeter mounted in what we still call a dispersion control lens, which is kind of one of the earlier ideas that allowed us to hit the original THX spec with some of our older products. Anyway, Platinum LCR is an audiophile level speaker, yet you set it to small in the processor. We're rolling those 10-inch woofers off at 60 to 80 hertz, so you're still going to spec it with subs, and it 94 dB sensitivity, handles tons of power, and so on. And so again, then now we've introduced Cinema Reference, which is an even bigger jump with a compression ribbon driver and at the high frequency, and a 15-inch mid bass driver. You still set it to small. It's still not a full range speaker by design, but it can play incredibly loud and fill a very large dedicated theater. So we can cover everything from the smallest media room all the way up to the biggest dedicated theater, and then it's a matter of how good do you want it to sound, how loud do you want it to play. And very quickly, a good place where dealer requests changed our product line was when we came out with the Platinum LCR. People loved the way it sounded. It's an audiophile monitor, but not everybody had that much space. And so people kept asking, well, can you make something smaller that sounds like that? And so we took the middle three drivers out of a Platinum LCR, and we didn't know what to call it because we kept making it as a custom speaker, and it became the Silver Monitor. So now we have a family of monitors and mini monitors that evolved from the driver development done for the Platinum LCR. So that's kind of how the line has, grown and changed is based upon, what our dealers are asking for and what the market's, telling us they need.
So I have a couple of questions that people have thrown out, and then I have one that I'm going to ask for myself. So Bobby Digital wants to know which line of speakers is your favorite. So that's kind of like what's your favorite child? That's got to be a tough one. But what do you think? Any pet favorites that you guys have?
Yeah, definitely. I'll never.
Dean's like, oh, it breaks my heart. I can't do it.
I'll narrow it down to three. I'll say one. I love Silver Monitor. Like, it's just a great form factor and has amazing performance. I love Mini LCR. Just so much firepower in that size. Even Mini Sat is just an amazing performer for the size of the speaker it is. And then of course, I've never heard a better speaker than Cinema Reference. And I've heard a lot of speakers in the industry now. And I get that I'm swinging for the home team here, but I just love the detail of it. I love how that obviously it can hit the specs at 102 dB. It's just a great, amazing sounding speaker. It has basically ruined me for other speakers.
Yeah.
So I've got to find a dealer in Colorado that has those somewhere on display.
When you fly through the Portland airport, there's a cinema there called Hollywood Theaters. It's a local nonprofit, and there's actually cinema reference LCRs playing very quietly, about 1% of their capability, but cinema reference LCRs are on display. You can sit down in between flights and listen to some Northwest content that's being looped in a little cinema there that we were involved with several years ago to get that set up.
But you know, like if you're really, if you're actually flying through Portland, Giles, you should just come by because
totally,
it's down the street from the airport for sure.
Well, maybe I'll just have to.
And then we could do a
anyway.
full cinema reference demo.
Yeah,
great.
I tell people I'm a recovering audiophile, but Dean is right. That is one of the speakers. It's the closest you're going to hear to like an electrostat in terms of that, you know, finesse and that detail. But it's got the dynamics. It can, you know. They just breathe, you know.
Without
incredible.
And you can do that without like 10 layers of DSP that you would need to use to make an electrostat do that.
So I'm getting a little jealous of Facebook user here. So hello, Facebook user. But this person has a full set of goals waiting here to go into their walls, and they can't wait to get. Yeah, I couldn't wait to get them in. So the goals are the dual 10s. Is that right?
A gold LCR has dual 8-inch.
Dual 8.
Now there are some other products that would have gold in the name. There's a gold mini monitor, which is a 2-way, you know, scan speak driver bookshelf speaker. There's
these are going in the wall, so it sounds like
so there's an in-wall version as well. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Right. That's an interesting point actually, is that we frequently build the same speaker but in different shape boxes. So we would have, for example, if we were to imagine the bronze LCR lineup, we have an in-room version, we have an in-room center version in a horizontal configuration, we have an in-wall version, we have an in-ceiling version with an angle baffle, and then we have an on-wall version. And that's pretty consistent throughout. You know, we've got these different flavors of the same driver configurations, crossover, cabinet size, internal capacity, all that kind of stuff. And what that really helps with is things like Atmos systems, where and David will talk to this better, being specifying systems all day long, but having the ability to put the same speaker in a different shaped box in the height channel locations as the front channel locations means, you imagine if you listen to a stereo pair of speakers and you had two, one speaker on the left and a completely different speaker on the right, that just wouldn't sound right? The imaging would be weird. It would lean to one side.
Oh, sure, yeah. The tonal balance, the tempo between the speakers, all that kind of stuff gets.
Now you imagine taking that left and right speaker and changing them, so maybe you've got the center and one of the height channels. You get that beautiful synergy and tonal similarities between. It really works wonders.
It does. One of the things I think that we even forget, working at Triad all the time, and I think one of the things that really put the company on the map is when Larry in the mid 80s was seeing custom installation and home theater as being these new emerging markets. He recognized that trying to do it just a generic in-wall speaker wasn't going to be good enough. That wasn't what he wanted Triad to be. The first products were, high quality subsat systems, and he wanted something that sounded like that in an in-wall. And so all of the in-wall speakers for years and years and years were fully engineered, not back box. They're engineered enclosures so that they're like Dave is talking about, they're sonically matched to their in-room counterpart. And we'll even go so far as to tweak crossovers so that in that infinite baffle, that in-wall speaker will sound, in the wall the way the in-room speaker will sound out in the room. And that's where getting creative with speccing Triad, if you're thinking about a cabinet installation, well, with our sealed enclosure in-walls, it may make more sense to use the in-wall product built into the face of a cabinet, for example, as opposed to sticking an in-room speaker on a shelf and covering it with, cloth or something like that. So, yeah.
So here's a challenge. So, and this is my personal cross to bear, so to speak, in my room. So I have probably the worst possible room that you could use for a theater install. It's just a retrofit on a room in my basement, right? So on one side, there's a stairwell that comes down, and the room's like 14 by 5 by 14 by 5. On the width, though, you've got the extra space for the stairwell on the right-hand side. And the way it's set up is, if you put your seating, you can get one row in there. You could do like in-wall rears and in-wall surrounds, but they're behind the seating area a little bit. So my thought was, okay, let's just do 9 bed channels and then put another set of speakers to the front of the sofas. And when I did that, it made a huge difference, right? I mean, it really rounded things out. But the problem is the speakers that you put as the wide
front wides,
they can't go in wall. There's no walls to go in. On one side, there's a door to a closet. On the other side, there's an opening where the landing for the stairwell is. So what can you do? Do you have to build just like a floor standard to do that? Or would you say, oh, you don't want to do that and you want to try and figure out how to deal with just a 7-dot system? So what, off the top of your head, what would you think is, and remember, this is a square-ish kind of
square room. So you've got 4 surrounds currently, but they're mostly behind you. That's for your side channels.
So I've got a 9.1, 9.6.4 system right now. So you got your center, left and right. Center's in wall, left and right are actually towers, and then I use that for 2-channel stuff too. And then the first set of surrounds are the front wides, right? And those are floor standers right now, and they're in front of the seating area. Then just behind the seating area, which is a row of 4 seats, are 2 on-wall surrounds. And then behind that on the back wall are 2 more on-wall surrounds.
Okay.
But
and those are all
my thought from
bipoles
you guys. I'm sorry?
The 4 surrounds, the side and the back, those are bipoles, or are they?
No, they're direct radiators.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're tweet double 4s, double 8s. So they're humongous.
They're big. Big
yeah, they're on walls, but they are big boys. They're about 6 inches deep or 5 inches deep and 40 inches tall. But my question for you with your product mix, in that kind of scenario where you couldn't do an in-wall, do you have a solution to do some kind of other speaker? Because right now I just use little towers at one point I use floor bookshelves or stand mounts on some stands to do it as well, put some 3-ways up. I'm just curious, do you have something to address that kind of issue when you can't put the speaker in a wall?
Oh, sure. I mean, we have in-room versions of most of the products. Now, while we don't typically make a tower speaker, we do make accessory pedestals for basically every in-room speaker that we produce. So you could certainly take a Triad, in-room product, get the matching pedestals. We could veneer those speakers and so on, and you could use them. Because it sounds like you've got doorways there. So it's not even like you would want to mount speakers.
Yeah, there's not even anywhere to mount them on a wall, so you couldn't even do it on a wall. It has to be floor mounted. Yeah, I'll see a picture because it's painful. I hate it.
Can you go in ceiling
and
at
how?
that position?
Pardon?
Can you go in ceiling at that position?
Well,
not really for front
Atmos,
wides.
so it kind of dorks all that stuff up if I'm putting a bed layer up for the.
What you might be able to do now, I assume you close those doors when you're.
Oh yeah. The room is sealed, so to speak. Yeah.
So if you wanted to get creative, and your wife said get those speakers off the floor, we could maybe take our in-ceiling angled baffle speakers, sort of violate the Atmos thing for a minute, but let's point them outwards on their 45-degree angle baffles and bounce them off the sidewalls. Or we make a rotating version of one of our angled baffle speakers where you could even rotate it and kind of bounce it at an oblique angle.
Oh, that's kind of interesting.
Similarly, we've done front wides in customs that are they're angled baffle on walls. So they kind of like half of one of our surrounds, except it's got an LCR in it.
Yeah, if you had the ability, so for example, what I would get more commonly isn't necessarily a doorway, but I just don't have the depth, or it's an exterior wall and I can't cut into it, but they could do an on wall. So that would probably be a more common solution, for example. But depending on exactly where the doorways were, and if you can slide them down, Dolby gives you a little bit of a window there. I think it's 50 to 70 degrees off axis they're looking for the front wide. So maybe we could cheat them forward a little bit or something and sneak them next to the door moldings.
Right on. No, see, the reason I asked that question, because I think this is the process that you go through when you have a dealer call you and they say, man, I got this thing I got to do in this room and it just is horrible. And these are the challenges that everybody faces, but
Right.
this is what you do, right?
This is what we do. Absolutely. And I think at the end of the day too, a lot of rooms have significant compromises. And so part of my goal isn't to say, oh, you can't do this or you can't do that, but to give our partner the information and a couple of options to sit down with. Who's the decision maker? Is it an interior designer saying you can't do this and this? Is it the homeowner saying I don't have the budget, or physical constraints in the room? And that way the partner and the homeowner can have an eyes and ears wide open conversation about where to make the compromises. And generally speaking, there's a way to, figure it out, to make it work pretty well. Every now and then, you said yours is the worst room. I've seen some really bad rooms. And you're like, why are we even trying to put home theater in here? And occasionally I'll steer them away. I'll say, as far as trying to do home theater, let's do a high-end 2.2 audio system in here instead of trying like cathedral ceiling great rooms, right, with walls of windows, and that's where they want to watch TV. Well, let's do a pair of silver monitors and gold monitors and a really high-end 2-channel, Accurus amplifier, something like that, and give them great audio. And let's not try to put surrounds where they're not going to gain us much anyway, right? Simplify their lives.
Joey's over there. He's all like, did I hear someone say they want iridium monoblocks?
Indeed. I expect a pair of cinema reference LCRs in a bedroom, a couple of years ago. It happened to be Macintosh Electronics. Sorry, but
I think that would be a mighty fine
2-channel system.
Yeah, I think that'd be mighty
indeed.
Fine. I think this is a really good segue to our next topic, and we've kind of been answering this question a little bit, but this is the tech topic of the week. Yes, it's time where we ask the hard questions that nobody else except these people can answer. And today's question is, how can I use Triad products to overcome installation challenges in my theater or media room? And I said that in my Colorado accent rather than my Alabama or mixed accent, just for you guys. But that's kind of what we've been talking about.
Basically.
So Triad is really a combination of flexible product types, right? Lots of different form factors, lots of different levels of quality, but really the most important piece is that relationship. And I guess I'm answering the question a little bit, but this is kind of a prompt for things to talk through. And the piece that's most important to me really is the relationship that gets formed between or amongst Triad, the dealer, and then the customer, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sure.
Some of our partners, have been working with for 25, 30 years, or really since the early days of home theater, these custom integrators that Triad went out and, tried to support. So it's a lot of fun to still work with the same folks for, many years and get the next project and the next project and the next project that they're working on.
Right on. Go ahead, Dean. You're going to say something.
Sorry, I'm busy watching the comment feed, and I got a little distracted by this question about center channels, and I was just
he's you had a strong reaction. You're like,
not quite that, but more like just really quick. I think
is it that one?
Yes. So one of the things, just a quick technical thing about that. So center channels generally, we're going to try to push the woofers as close together as possible to reduce the interference that they're causing each other from acting horizontally. So you get a better off-angled experience from it, and in that drive the tweeter up. Joey's point about waveguides is also true because you don't want to turn the lens in the wrong direction. But predominantly it's because if you just take a normal vertical orientation the speaker and tip it on its side, you're going to get some what's called combing, or just an interference wave pattern from the woofers in that product that gives you a less optimal off-angle experience. That's all.
Yeah, some of the speakers, the Diapolitos in particular, a mini LCR, a silver LCR, you can run them horizontal without too much of an issue. By the time you're sitting far enough off axis that the comb filtering is really noticeable, you're typically in front of the left front or the right front speaker, which is now kind of masking that.
Yeah,
To
sure.
Joey's point, though, if you're looking at a gold LCR, which is a three-way speaker, or the platinum LCR with the dispersion lens, or the cinema reference with the ribbon, you just simply can't turn them, sideways, right? So we actually make a dedicated version of the platinum as a center channel where we flip the mids and the waveguide 90 degrees. So it's a different form factor.
Yeah, for sure. And we have a gold version of that available in customs as well. I don't know if it's going actually out on product line, but we make that for people all the time because it's a common request.
Man, that's awesome. I'm gonna find some dealers around here that sell Triad into the Colorado installations. I got to go check some of these out because my appetite has been whet for your product. I got to check this out. And talking about product, I think Dave has got some pictures queued up for us to take a look at some stuff that you guys have done in the past. Can we pull those up and take a look? You mind?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, please.
All right, let's do this.
Yeah, so there's, excuse the non-glamorous kind of straight off the, hot off the press kind of photography here. What we wanted to do is really just kind of talk you through some of the levels of custom that we can do and how we get to places like this. So we've spoken about, okay, yeah, we can paint match. You send us a paint code from Sherwin-Williams, or you cut a bit of a cabinet off and paint it and send it to us, and we'll paint match it. We can do the same with veneers. We can custom match sound bars to the width of a television. So you tell us the width of your TV or the model of your TV. We'll cut it to size, we'll paint it whatever color you want, and we'll get it shipped out to you. So that's what we would kind of refer to, I suppose, as standard custom. Nothing out of the ordinary. We do all of those things a lot of the time. The picture we're showing here is an example of when we go, I suppose, completely custom. Now, this is a standard product. This is one of our in-wall LCR products. I think it's the bronze.
In-ceiling mini LCR, I think.
Mini, okay. And you can see that the back doesn't look like a particularly normal shape. Well, the standard product would have a completely kind of squared off back. What's happened here is that somebody's cut a hole in the ceiling in their precisely planned, beautiful surround sound system, and they've found some pipes or something. They found something that can't be moved in the ceiling. Now, this is where the team in Portland come in and work their magic. So they'll work with our partners and customers to figure out what we need to do to accommodate whatever they've found up there that's immovable. And the same goes for in-wall, by the way, and pretty much anything else we do. And now you'll see this kind of Tetris jigsaw puzzle looking speaker will fit really precisely around whatever was found in the ceiling to keep the speaker in the right position so it sounds fantastic and isn't expensive and disruptive to move gas lines or whatever was up there.
I can just hear it now. You're everybody from your CAD designer to the G code writer, all the way down to the CNC operator, and then to the assembly folks. They're like, what is this jigsaw puzzle that we have?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
We develop a culture around that, and a lot of times it's the same guy. So we have one customs engineer who just he's designing it, he's cutting it, and then assembling it and sending it over to be finished. So it gets special care.
Yeah, we've all walked through the factory, just doing whatever we do during the day, and stopped at something like this and said, "Oh my gosh, what are we doing today?" As far as a custom going through the shop, but yeah, that one to fit a speaker around gas lines. Who else would do that for you?
No, that's awesome. That's really cool.
So this isn't necessarily what you would see, obviously. So what's missing from this picture is a metal frame and a magnetic frameless grille that would cover this. So you wouldn't see any of this. The grille would be painted whatever color you wanted, and then those tabs actually would shoot out behind the drywall, and the grille would clamp it, lock it down nice and tight to kind of finish off what we're looking at here.
All I'm saying is whoever's house this is, they've got one heck of a ceiling to be able to fit this monster up in there.
Yeah, these are I think just under 8 inches.
They're 10 3/4 inches square. The normal version is 8 inches deep. So this one probably is bad. Yeah. So
that would fit most.
Yeah, it looks like they moved some of the 8-inch depth and made it 10. So it's probably at a 2x10 ceiling joist.
You want to see another one?
Cool. Oh yeah, like, bring them on. This stuff's cool. I love this stuff.
So
see, this is what I need right here. This is awesome.
Right. So this is another example. This happens to be a mini LCR again, this time an in-wall, except now what we've done is we've taken two standard products and sort of mated them together to create something completely different. So this is a in-wall mini LCR, and then one of our mini flex subs. So we have, we have in-wall and in-ceiling and in-room subs, but we also have some products called flex subs, where we've added this adapter plate and tube and vent those subs into the room via a couple of different styles of grills. We have a couple of grills that are more like a register vent, so you could put this in the floor and et cetera. But what looks like has happened here is, and this was probably around a fireplace or something like that, where they had some dummy space in the fireplace enclosure, but they didn't have a lot of width to work with, so they couldn't use a standard in-wall sub, which might be 12, 13 inches wide. And so we've worked with the partner to design a variation of the flex sub where we could stuff that thing, back into the cabinet or into the fireplace enclosure, and made this sleek, slim, full range speaker that, will have a fairly narrow, long grill. So this would be a pair of 8-inch subs and dual 4-inch high frequency, mid high frequency speakers connected together.
That's cool.
Yeah. Speaking of wedging subs and speakers together and LCRs together, this product, I don't know the full story behind it, but I've seen a number of these go through, and this has a couple of, like, the LCRs made out of Pro drivers, none of which appear in standard products that we make, plus a pair of our 10-inch sub drivers. So this is a product where someone calls us and says, "Hey, I want something that can throw as much horsepower as Platinum or more, and but I only have a tiny little box to put it in," which is always the case. There's never like, "Oh, you have infinite space to work with."
Mm-hmm.
No, it's always you have so much less than you would really want to ideally. But so we designed this product from the ground up for the dealer. We had sat down, hunted down the drivers, did the testing in anechoic chamber, tuned the crossovers, etc. Just built it from the ground up to meet that need for our dealers and partners. So
that's the world's most badass soundbar right there.
I think Dave has some more pictures.
Yeah, the next slide you'll see some crazy sound bars.
Yeah, so this is just a slide. We've got this folder of it's like the vault of all the crazy custom stuff that comes off the line. We snap a photo of and put it in this folder. And here's just a few of the things that I thought were kind of fun to show. So we've got everything on here from there's custom sub enclosures, no doubt to fit in a particular space. There's a curved soundbar there to match, the curved TVs of a few years.
That's crazy. I love that. It is
crazy. Yeah, and one of the other things we've done with soundbars, I think fairly frequently, is that TVs have sometimes got the little IR receiver bump, or the they've got a curve on.
Yeah, it's right at the very bottom, and it's like an inch wide, and it's totally destroys the bottom of the television as far as a smooth line.
Yeah, and then you go and get a soundbar and try and put it up against it, and it kind of doesn't fit. Well, we can notch out the top of a soundbar to match that notch or the bump, on the bottom of a television, so you get a nice flush fit between the two. So there's no photo here, but that's another fun thing that we do frequently.
Just so people know, I have a Dremel tool, and if they need that service done for $150 and a plane ticket round trip, I will come Dremel tool. I'm not guaranteeing a good look, but
it will fit.
It will fit. There may be an air leak in the box.
Will it work?
Yeah. Hey, a quick question before we go on to the next thing from Bobby Digital. He wants to know what you could use with his gold LCRs as front wides. He asked because a new up mixer is coming for some device, which I don't know what it is, that will allow him to take advantage of front wides, and he
Nice.
needs them, and he needs
Yeah.
them to match his goals.
My favorite or typical go-to speaker for front wides, like we were talking about earlier in your system, Giles, would be to use some sort of angled baffle speaker. So like to take some of the in-ceiling angled baffle speakers if you've got the depth. And so most typically with either a gold LCR or a platinum LCR, we make an in-ceiling version of that silver monitor I mentioned earlier. So basically the middle 3 drivers out of the platinum LCR in a 6-inch deep, 45-degree angled baffle speaker. So as long as you have a 2x6 wall, you could flush mount them. If you're dealing with a 2x4 wall, a couple of different options. We could either have the partner build a faux column, and so part of the speaker's in the wall, part of it's in the column. But Triad's also made something that we call in-wall to on-wall trim kits for that exact purpose. So 4 inches of that 6-inch deep speaker goes in the wall, and then we make almost like a picture frame to trim out all the hardware and the standard grill mounts to it. So only 2 inches of the speaker is sticking out into the room, still with that angled baffle. I'm less concerned about exactly timbre matching. It's not like you need the same drivers that are in the gold LCR with your front wides, and most of the Triads, of course, are the same guy is designing these. So there's a philosophy there as far as target curves and so on. And those front wides are closer to you than your front speakers, so they don't need as much output. So a silver monitor would be probably my first recommendation, the in-ceiling Silver 6 monitor for those front wides.
Right on. Thank you. So Bobby Digital, you've heard it from the source. You can't get any closer to Triad than you are right now. So that's cool. And both for Bobby Digital and Aaron Schroeder, I think is how you say it, last name. I would love to see pictures of all the stuff that you've got going on. So if you could post in the Home Theater Fanatics Facebook group, that would be awesome. I would love to see photos of your efforts and how your rooms are coming as you install these speakers, because this is really, really cool stuff. All right, guys, we are 3 minutes from the top of the hour, so we are at the end of time. So I'm gonna unfortunately cut short some of the product pictures, but what this means is that in the future, you guys are going to have to come back and do this again. And David's all like, oh God, not again. Not another live stream. No.
Yeah, this is fun. This is fun. Let's have your guys bring us all their installation problems. We'll solve them all in one night.
Oh, okay. You know what? You're throwing down the gauntlet. And there are going to be people out there be like, hey, did you hear Triad's doing like free design services on this is the best thing.
That's right.
No, but so first off, I want to say thanks to you guys. This has been absolutely outstanding. I really, really, really appreciate you coming on. You guys are all just a huge font of knowledge, and I really love the CI aspect of theater and that kind of stuff. And one of the questions that people pose to me all the time is, why would anybody use an in-wall? Because they all suck. And, I'm like, no, you don't understand. This is how the pros do it. This, you don't put towers all around your room that you stumble over and they fall. And no, this is how it's done. So I really appreciate you guys helping, spread the word, particularly since it's, kind of your bread and butter. So I like getting that out there. And, it's really good to have, people expose the audience to this next level of equipment. There are a lot of folks that have kind of their homegrown home theaters, and they're thinking, well, what's the next thing? Well, this stuff is the next thing. And I'm sure if they go to a local partner, local reseller, and say, hey, I want to do some stuff, and I heard of this company called Triad, what can we do? I'm sure they'd be like, yeah, we can hook it up. Let's get this thing going. So thank you guys so much for coming on. For everybody else out there, don't forget, next week is the big event, right? So giving away a ton of stuff. And, I'm hoping that everybody is on the, that's usually in the audience is here. And, all the stuff's going to be random winners, but, you guys are my favorites. And hopefully something goes your way. I know a couple of you guys won some stuff last year. So I'll cross my fingers again for that. Make sure to like and subscribe and all that stuff. And if you've got Triad stuff, please get it up on the Facebook page. I'd love to expose people more to that. All right. So with that, guys,
Thank you so much, Giles.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank you. It's been really awesome. Thanks for having us on today.
Right on. Glad to, and I look forward to our next opportunity to get together. And with that, I think I'll go ahead and call it. See you guys next week and in the next video.